That means in feature learning, we have convolution layers along with pooling layers. Okay. And next one for classification, we have fully connected layers. That means fully connected layers means it is just nothing but our multi-layer multi-layered network or fully connected neural network. Okay. The last stage will be a softmax layer. Okay. Now, so why we are going for neural networks instead of neural networks? Because we all know that neural networks they are very good for image recognition or image classification. Now, why we are going for convolution neural networks means the problem with neural networks is if the image is large, okay, so that for larger images the neural networks becomes very slow, okay, and they take a large amount of computational power. Okay, those are the main problems associated with neural networks. Okay, so as here our primary objective is for biomedical image segmentation. Normally biomedical images they are having they are large images. Okay. Okay, so because of that, the neural networks become very slow, and it we require a large computational power. Just for example, here I have given. Okay, if you take a 64 by 64 by 3 size image, that means the input parameters. Just if you multiply 64 into 64 into 3, you will get 12,288 input parameters. So it is a small image. Okay, so no doubt neural networks will be very good for recognition purpose or classification purpose. But if you just increase the resolution of the image like this, 1000 by 1000 by 3, that means 3 channels, red, green, and blue. Okay, so here the input parameters are 3 million parameters. The input parameters are 3 million parameters. So they take large amount of time for processing, and they require very high amounts of computational power. That those are the biggest disadvantages of neural networks. Now we have very good computational power. That means we have gaming processor units. Okay, GPUs. As we have GPUs, it is better to use convolution neural networks. Okay, so we have already discussed that in convolution neural networks, we have two phases. One is feature learning phase, another one is classification phase. Okay, in feature learning phase, we'll have convolution layers along with pooling layers. So what are convolution layers and what is this ReLU and what is pooling? Now we'll discuss. Okay, after feature learning stage, we have classification stage. Okay, in this classification, it is just nothing but fully connected neural network. Okay, the last stage, the activation function for classification is softmax activation function. Okay, now so in this feature learning space, so we have two main components or two phases in convolution neural networks. So in feature learning, we will have convolution operations, okay, rectified linear unit. So this ReLU is an activation function. So we'll use ReLU, rectified linear unit activations. We'll use pooling. Okay. So in this feature learning, so we'll learn about edges, shades, lines, curves, etc. So we'll segment edges, shades, lines, and curves. Okay. This is about feature learning. And now coming to classification. In classification we'll have a fully connected neural network. Okay, all the nodes are fully connected. Okay, this fully connected layer, it will assign a probability for the object on the image being what the algorithm predicts. Okay, so here for the prediction, we'll use a softmax layer also. So now we'll discuss clearly about feature learning. Okay. So in feature learning, we'll have convolution layers, rectified linear units, and pooling. Okay. So first we'll discuss about convolution layer. So the first layer in convolution neural network or deep convolution neural network is always a convolution layer. Here, if you look at this image, just let us consider a 5 by 5 image. Here I have considered a binary image, that means 0 and 1. We may have a gray level image, or we can also have RGB image, but in RGB we will deal each channel separately, that means red, green, blue separately. Okay, so let us consider an image, okay, whether it may be a binary, gray level, or RGB image. Okay, this image will be multiplied with filter. Okay, so this filter, this multiplication is just nothing but convolution. Okay, so this filter is also known as kernel or feature detector. Okay, this filter, it is just termed as a kernel or feature detector. So how we can have a filter means, so by using different filters, okay, we can extract or we can segment different features like edges, curves, and lines. Okay, for each feature we have to use different filter. For edges, for different types of edges, we have to use different types of kernels. For different curves, we have to use different kernels. For different lines, horizontal or vertical or cross lines, we have to use different kernels. Okay, so let us consider a 3 by 3 filter. Okay, so basically convolution means we'll multiply the input matrix with the filter matrix or kernel. Okay, so in convolved layer or convolution layer will have this basic multiplication. So if you look at this, so here we have an animation of convolution like this. Okay, the convolution will be performed like this. Okay, so the filter will be shifted from topmost left to slope right and then bottom wise. Okay, so if you take this one, okay, topmost kernel, so 1 into 1 plus 0 into 1 plus 1 into 1 plus 0 into 0 plus 1 into 1 plus 0 into 1 plus 1 into 0 plus 0 into 0 plus 1 into 1. So for this one, okay, we'll have 4 like this. So this one. So for the second one, if you multiply like that, you will get 3. For the third one, if you multiply like this, sorry, for the third one, this one, if you multiply like this, you will get 4. This is how, okay, we'll do the convolution. Okay, any doubts here? Okay, now, so basically, if you do any convolution, the size of the output will have reduced size. If you look at the, if you take this input image, the input is 32 by 32. The input image is a 32 by 32 image, and we have used a 5 by 5 filter. So if you use a 5 by 5 filter or kernel, then the output the output, generally it is termed as a feature map or activation map. So the activation map, it will be of size 28 by 28. Okay, output size is less when compared with input size. Okay, so if you convolve with 1 by 1 filter, then output input will have the same size. Okay, do you understand? If you convolve with 1 by 1 filter, so I think you may heard about ResNet, residual net. This ResNet is it is it belongs to Microsoft. Okay, they have used ResNet blocks. Okay, there you may see 1 by 1 filters. Okay, so if you use 1 by 1, that means the input and feature map both will have the same size. Okay, as we have used a 5 by 5 filter. Okay, the output feature map is 28 by 28. This is how we can perform the convolution. Okay, now, so here the filter or kernel, normally it is used to find the edge, line or curve. Okay, so filters are kernels or feature detectors. Why we are using filters? In order to detect or in order to extract the edges or curves or lines. So here just look at this. So here we have considered a filter, okay, which is used to detect this curve. So the kernel is like this. Okay, its value is 30, 30, 30, 30, 30. Okay, along this curve, we have the pixel value is 30. Okay, now, so let us take this original image and just I am applying convolution operation on here. Okay, on this image I am applying convolution operation here. So if you look at this, so the pixel values for this is like this. Okay, and now we are multiplying this image, okay, with a curve detector, right side curve detector. Okay, then the if you multiply and then sum, you will get a large number, 6,600. So as we have a curve here, the output of convolution is a large number. Okay, as we have, if you apply any other detector, so if you apply here a curve detector, here we have only a crossed line, we don't have a curve, then the response of the convolution operation will be very, very less. Okay, so if you apply a filter, if the response is maximum, okay, then we can find the feature on that at that particular place. Okay, now look at this.
So sorry to disturb you.
Okay.
One participant has asked a question, sir. You please check the chat box, message box.
Okay. So in convolution neural networks, okay, am I audible to you? So
yes, sir.
Okay, so if you these are the types of filters. We will apply various types of filters. Okay, this is a crosser line filter. This is a crosser line filter. This is a vertical filter. Okay, we will apply different types of Gaussian filters, line filters. Okay, so many filters are. This is AlexNet. Okay, for AlexNet, these are the types of filters used to find edges, curves, okay, lines, okay. Even if it is a color image, we can also apply directly a CNN to a color image. So these are the different filters. These are meant for, okay, gray level, and these are meant for color. We can apply all the kernel. We will apply all these kernels to our image so that we can perfectly segment or extract the features. Okay, here features means just curves or lines or edges. Okay, so if you apply just a right hand this curved filter here, okay, so here for this particular part of the image, the matrix is like this. So if you multiply this part of the image with our filter, okay, the convolution result is 0. That means here, and the center is like this. It is centered at this point. Okay, so we have the filter is like this. Okay, so the convolution result is 0. That means it is minimum. So no feature is present here. That is the meaning. So we can have filters for lines or curves, left or right, or also for straight edges. These are different types of filters for AlexNet. Okay, now, so for edge detection, you are, I think all the participants, they have very good knowledge about image processing. These are different edge detectors. Okay, so if we use this edge detector, okay, and convolve it with this image, okay, you will get this image. So here you can observe all the edges are preserved. So for different filters, for sharpen filter, the convolution output is like this. Okay, for different filters, these are the edge. I think you can observe all these filters in image processing. So if you apply different filters for this particular image, okay, the outputs will be like this. Okay, this is a normalized filter, box blur filter, Gaussian blur. Okay, so normally the result of the convolved feature depends on depth, stride, and also on padding. Okay, so generally we will use depth equals to 1 for gray level images, and we will use depth equals to 3, okay, for RGB images. 3 means we have 3 channels, red, green, and blue. So depth indicates what type of image, our input image. Okay, stride. Here, when we are applying convolution operation, we are moving from left to right, from top to bottom. Okay, so if stride is 1, please observe here. If stride is 1, then we move the filter 1 pixel at a time. Okay, if the stride is 2, then the filters jump 2 pixels at a time. Okay, so if you have larger stride, then the size of the output or the size of the feature map is small. Okay, so if stride is less, the size of feature map will be more. If the stride is more, okay, for larger strides, we'll have small feature maps. Okay, and next one is padding. So normally we will use padding equals to 1, and we'll pad with zeros. Okay, so this is about convolution. Then we'll go to rectified linear units. Okay, so generally if you take a real-time problem, all real-time images or real-time problems, they are non-linear in nature. Real world data, it is non-linear in nature. But if you take a convolution operation, convolution means it is just nothing but a multiplication and addition. It is just a linear operation. So we have to add some non-linearity to this linear convolution. So by using rectified linear unit, we are adding non-linearity to the convolved feature map. So how we are adding non-linearity means, so here if you get any negative values, we'll replace the feature map, negative pixel values in the feature map with 0. Okay, by replacing negative pixel values with 0, we are introducing the non-linearity. Okay, you can find so many non-linear operations in CNNs, but generally we'll prefer rectified linear unit. Okay, so just to introduce non-linearity, we are applying ReLU, rectified linear unit. So for this input feature map, the ReLU feature map is like this. Now, so after convolving layer, that means convolution and ReLU, next stage is pooling layer. Okay, next one is pooling. So pooling means we are decreasing the dimensionality. So in pooling, we are reducing the dimension. That means we are downsampling. Okay, we are downsampling. So why we are downsampling, we are reducing the dimensionality means, so we may have some redundant data in our image input. So we will just keep the important information, okay, by using pooling, and we will eliminate the redundant data. Okay, we can observe so many pooling techniques. Okay, so we can have max pooling, average pooling, sum pooling, but mainly max pooling is preferred. Okay, mostly max pooling is used. So in max pooling, so if normally we'll use a 2x2 max pooling. Okay, in 2x2 max pooling, if you take this one, okay, if you take max pooling, so we will find the maximum pixel value. So 1426, maximum is 6. Okay, next we'll take this one. So here the maximum is 8. We'll have 8, and in this the maximum is 4. Okay, so 4, and here the maximum is 7. So this input feature map is reduced to a 2x2 feature map like this. So we are reducing the dimensionality of the input using pooling. Here I have used max pooling. If you take average pooling, that means we'll take the average of these 4 pixel values, and we'll replace these 4 with average of this one. Okay, like that. In sum pooling, we'll take the sum 1, 4, 2, 6. That means first element value is 13. So the second is 9 plus 8, 17, 22. And third one is 3 plus 4, 7, plus 3, 10. So fourth one, 11. So we'll replace, if you use sum pooling, okay, we'll replace this feature map with this one. Okay, this is how we can reduce the dimensionality, and that means we are downsampling the input feature map. Okay, this is so pooling means we are reducing the dimensionality. So that means we'll keep the important information and we'll eliminate the redundant or unimportant information. Okay, next. So this is about the size. So if you take a CNN architecture, okay, we may have up to this we have discussed. Okay, up to this we have discussed another. So if you consider, if you apply input image, okay, here we have applied a convolution and rectangular linear. This is first convolution layer, and this is second convolution layer. After that, we have used pooling. Okay, so next ReLU. So not only say, and we not only this sequence is preferred, we can follow any sequence. First we can use convolution ReLU, and then we can put pooling, and then we can have convolution ReLU, then we have pooling. Like that we can have. Okay, this is just an example. Okay, if we have more than 3 convolution layers, that means we are increasing the depth. So they will become deep convolution networks. Okay, so we may have 3 or more than 3 convolution layers. Okay, later we'll have pools. So this is about feature extraction stage of convolution neural network. Okay, and then we'll go to the classification stage. So this is the classification stage. Okay, this is the classification stage of a CNN. In this classification stage, okay, it is just nothing but a fully connected neural network. So fully connected neural network means each node or each neuron is connected. Okay, each node is connected. Every node in that network is connected. That means every neuron in the previous layer is connected to every neuron in the next layer. Okay, that is a fully connected layer. That means just we can use multi-layer perceptron neural network. Okay, in classification stage. So always, generally, the classification in the classification stage, the last one is a softmax activation. Okay, generally softmax activation function is used. Okay, we can also use sigmoid activation, but we can get better results. Okay, if you use softmax activation just for classification. So this softmax function takes a vector of arbitrary real valued score and squashes it to a vector of values between 0 and 1. And the sum of all these values results to 1. Okay. So this is about convolution neural network. Basically, this convolution neural network, it is used for, okay, it is used for classification problem. Okay, so if you apply any image, so we have ImageNet database. Okay, in that ImageNet database, you can find so many images of birds. Okay, so many natural scene images, images of animals. Okay, like that. So if you apply a basic CNN with 3 convolution layers or 2 or 3 pooling and a perfect multi-layered perceptron fully connected network with softmax, so we can perfectly have a classification like that. Our network can detect okay, can classify all the images perfectly. Okay, this is about convolution neural network. Okay, and the major requirements for convolution neural network are, so for training we require enormous amount of data. We require very large data for training. Okay, so we require very high amounts of data, and also the problem is the training time. Here also the training time will be larger. Okay, now let us come to, as our basic theme is medical image processing. Okay, so how we can use convolution neural networks for biomedical image segmentation. The basic problem with biomedical image segmentation is that we can have large, the size of each image is large, no doubt, because all the instruments that we will use, if you take a CT or fundus camera output, fundus image or any image, MRI image, okay, the size is large. Okay, that is the first problem. The main problem, the important problem with biomedical images is that the training data is very less. That is the basic problem with biomedical image segmentation. The training data is very less. Okay, so earlier I said that for convolution neural networks, we require very high amounts of data. So these convolution neural networks, they works very well for classification problems. Okay, but for image segmentation, here we not only need to convert feature map into a vector, but also we have to reconstruct the image from this vector. That is the main problem for image segmentation. So it is very tough task to convert a vector into an image. Okay, so here in convolution neural networks, we are converting feature maps into vectors.
So screen is not visible.
Image segmentation is that we have to reconstruct the image from the vector. That is the main problem associated with image segmentation.
Sir, may I have your attention, sir?
Okay.
The presentation is not moving, sir.
Yeah. I am at the first slide, Andy.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Just I am discussing about the problems with biomedical images. If we use convolution neural networks for image segmentation. Okay, so convolution neural networks, basically the problem space is for classification. So for classification means we have to convert the image vector, the feature map into a vector. That's enough. But for image segmentation, we have to reconstruct the image, output image from this vector. That is the main mammoth task for convolution neural networks. So this unit, it performs very well for biomedical image segmentation. Okay, so how we'll use unit? Just this unit is a convolution neural network. Okay, is it moving?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we'll start unit. Okay, so unit, why it is termed as unit? Means it is just like a U. as, one minute, as it is just like a U, okay? Our architecture is just like a U, okay? It is termed as UNet. We have we have 3 parts in this UNet. This is known as contraction path. This is known as contraction path, okay? And this is bottleneck. This is bottleneck, and this is expansion path. Okay, this is contraction, this is bottleneck, and this is expansion. Okay, so, and these are known as skip connections. So what are the basic blocks of UNet? Now I will explain. Okay. So if you observe, I have considered a 572 by 572 image and 1 channel. Okay, here we can also have 3 channels. Okay, if it is an RGB image, we can have 3 channels. Just for example, I have indicated 1. That means it is a gray level image. Okay, and I am applying here these 2 blue arrows. They indicate 3 by 3 convolutions with ReLU, rectified linear unit. Okay, do you understand? Okay, so here I have used 2 convolution operations along with ReLU activation function, ReLU anamata. Okay, so how many filters I have used? I have used 64 filters here. Okay, so 2 convolution. The first output of convolution, it has a size resolution of 570 by 570. So dimensionality is reduced just by 2. That means we can have padding, no? Okay, no doubt the filter map is reduced, okay, if we convolve with 3 by 3. So 570 by 570. Next, if you another 3 by 3 convolution with ReLU, 568 by 568. Here also I have used how many filters? 64 kernels, filters, okay, or feature detectors. Okay, in UNet, if you look at first stage, this is the first stage of operation. In this first stage of operation, okay, I have considered a 1 channel, that means a gray level image, and I have applied it to 2 convol. I have convolved it 2 times. Okay, each time with 64 filters. The output feature map, first convolved layer output feature map is 570 by 570 resolution, and the second one is 568 by 568. Okay, next. So look at this. Here you can observe a brown down arrow. So down arrow, just this down arrow represents down sampling. We are reducing the dimensionality. Okay, here this indicates down sampling. That means we are using pooling here. Normally in UNet, no, okay, we use max pool in UNet. Okay, max pooling with a stride 2. Max pooling with a stride 2. Okay, in UNet. Okay, so normally what is the use of max pooling? Pooling, what is the basic use of pooling? we can have only the important information. Unimportant or redundant information, we can remove it. Okay, so we are downsampling, we are reducing the dimensionality. Look at this. Here we have 568 by 568. So now it will become 284 by 284. Just here 284 square, you can observe here. So that means 284 by 284 image. So the image size is reduced. Okay, now look at this. Here also I am using two convolution layers. But these two convolution layers with how many filters? 128 and 128. Here I have just used 64 kernels or feature detectors or filters. But here I am using double kernels. Okay, now look at this. The output of this stage, now it will be downsampled. That means we are using max pooling here. So max pooling, that means 2 by 2 with a stride 2. That means if you use max pooling with 2 by 2 stride 2, no doubt this 280 by 280 gets perfectly half. That means here you can observe it is 140 by 140. The resolution is 140 by 140, and this is applied to another two, okay, another two convolved layers. Okay, another two convolved layers. So if you observe the number of kernels, now they are doubled. Here 64, 128, okay. Now they became 256. From 256 they will become 512. So here the size is 134. So 134 by applying another max pooling, okay. So it will be reduced to 68. Okay. Now look at this. 256 into 2, 512. 512. Here also I am using another two convolutions. Okay, 3 by 3 convolutions with ReLU activation function, and then another downsampling. So another downsampling means 68. After one convolution, it will be reduced to 66 by 66. Another convolution, it will be reduced to 64 by 64. Okay, if you use max pooling, then downsampling. So as we are downsampling with 2 by 2 and stride 2, the 64 by 64 is perfectly halved. Okay, that means it will become 32 by 32. So here I have used another convolution. This is now 1 minute. So here we are reducing the size of feature map. So in this process, in this direction, we are reducing the size of feature map. So here initially the size of feature map is 572 by 572. So it will be reduced to how much? It will be reduced to 32 by 32. That is the main advantage here. Okay, so the size of the image, the size of the data is reduced to 32 by 32. But if you observe, here I have used 64 filters for the first stage, first convolution, and for the second convolution also I have used 64 filters, kernels. But for the last stage, if you observe here, I have used 1024 convolutions. So at each stage, 1024 filters. At each stage, number of kernels or filters will be doubled. First, they are doubled to 128, and then 256, then 512, and then to 1024. This path is known as the size is reduced, it is known as contraction path. This is known as contraction path. Okay, that is contraction path. And this is generally known as bottleneck path. Okay, bottleneck. That is bottleneck anamata. And from here, okay, these blue arrows are, what are the blue arrows? They are just nothing but convolution with ReLU. Okay, so 32 by 32 is converted to 30 after first convolution in the bottleneck, and after the second convolution, it will become, the data will be, the feature map size is 28 by 28. Okay, and then please look at this. We are using upsampling. Okay, we are using upsampling. So up to this, it is just like a ordinary CNN. Okay, the speciality of unit is that first we will have contraction and then we will have expansion. Okay, so first stage is just look like a convolution neural network, and that is used for contraction, and then we'll use another convolution neural network for expansion. Okay, so if you look at this, so I am upsampling. Okay, that means transposed convolution. So these are upsamplings. 1 minute. They indicate upsampling. Okay, 2 by 2 upsamplings with stride 2. 2 by 2 upsampling with stride 2. Okay, now look at this. So 1 minute. The basic use of this contraction, this downsampling process, is that it can increase the robustness. Okay, so how it can increase the robustness means it can reduce the risk of overfitting. Normally, you can hear the term overfitting in convolution neural networks. Okay, the main advantage of downsampling is that we can reduce the risk of overfitting. Okay, and we can also reduce the amount of computation. The computation, so here initially the size is 572 by 572 for the last stage. So we have used 1, 2, 3, 4. In the fifth stage, okay, the size will become 32 by 32. So the computation power is reduced. Okay, those are the main advantages of this contraction or downsampling. And another advantage is the size of receptive field will be increased. Okay, those are the main features of this contraction and matter. Okay. Next, when we go to expansion, this is expansion path. So if you observe the expansion path, so we are up, so these green up arrows are indicating upsampling. Okay, so 28 into 2, that means they will, as we are using 2 by 2 matrix with stride 2, no doubt they will be double sized. Okay, 28 by 28 will become 56 by 56, and then 2 convolutions means first convolution 56 by 56 will become 54 by 54 after the first convolution, and second convolution 54 by 54 will become 52 by 52. And here the important thing is that here I have used how many kernels? 1024 kernels. Okay. Here number of kernels or number of filters are increasing, but now we will decrease the number of filters or kernels in this path. Okay, here I have used 1024. From this 1024, we'll reduce it to 512. Okay, we'll reduce them to 512. And you can also observe that we have arrows like this. These arrows are known as skip connections. So if you take this one, okay, now if you take this skip connection, okay, so that means the output of this stage is directly concatenated. Okay, do you understand? This white block represents concatenation. This white block represents concatenated. That means the output of this stage, third stage, this is fourth stage. Here the output of fourth stage is directly concatenated to this. The output of third stage is directly concatenated to this. Output of second stage is directly concatenated here. The output of first stage is directly concatenated here. Now, what is the use of concatenation? What is the use of skip connection? Means, so as we goes from top to bottom, okay, we are concentrating only on high level features, high level information. From first stage to second stage, somewhat the information becomes high level. Okay, if you move from 1 to 4, we are concentrating only on high level information only. Okay, if you concatenate the output of first stage here, that means the low level information is concatenated here. The low level information is concatenated here. Okay, here also in 128 by, and here also in the second stage, the low level information of second stage is concatenated here. The low level information in third stage is concatenated here. Okay, so like this, we are concatenating the low level information. That is the biggest advantage of UNet. Even though it is a biggest advantage, we are also having some disadvantage. What is the disadvantage? We'll discuss it later. Okay, the main difference or advantage of UNet is that by using a skip connection, we are concatenating the low level information. So by using upsampling, and then by using for each stage we are applying two convolutions along with a ReLU. Okay, so here if you observe, okay, now we become 64 by 60. Here I have applied 64. That means the half of 128 is 64. Okay, so this one is 1-by-1 convolution. That is 1-by-1 convolution. So this is basic UNet architecture. So we have contraction path, bottleneck path, and then expansion path. In contraction we will use downsampling. In expansion we will use upsampling. So this is about UNet. Okay, any doubts in UNet?
If you have any questions regarding the UNet, you may ask, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, this is Hanitkar. Actually, I want to ask, can you throw light upon upsampling?
Okay. In upsampling,
Yeah.
it is here in contraction we are using downsampling. Okay. We are using here in upsampling we'll use transposed convolution. For downsampling we will use pooling. Here we will use transposed convolution so that the image size will be doubled. So if you consider 52 by 52 image, so if you, as we are using upsampling, it will become 104 by 104. So here 100 by 100, if you use transposed convolution, that means upsampling, so it will become 200 by 200 like that. So just reverse process of contraction path. Okay, so if you look at this, so we have considered an input image of size 572 by 572. So this is contraction path. So bottleneck, and then the output of skip connections will be applied to extraction path. So this completes the total unit mechanism. Okay, we'll get the output. Okay, so we have considered a 572 by 572 image. Okay, and this upper circle indicates only one channel. Okay, we can also have 3 channels, no problem. Okay, and these 2 indicates, what are those 2? Convolutions, 3 by 3 convolutions with ReLU. Okay, so we all know that. So 3 by 3 convolution, we have already discussed about convolution. Okay, so convolution is used to extract the feature. Okay, we'll get the feature map, we'll get edges, lines, okay, curves like those. Okay, and the operation of convolution is basically linear in nature, and in order to introduce the non-linearity, we are using this rectified linear unit. Okay, and another thing is that in rectified linear unit, how we are introducing the non-linearity, not negative pixel values will be replaced with 0. That is how we are introducing non-linearity in rectified linear unit. So this is about basic 3 by 3 convolution and ReLU. So, and this brown arrow indicates downsampling. So downsampling means max pooling. Okay, so max pooling basically to reduce the dimensionality of the feature map, we will use downsampling. So this is contraction path, and this is expansion path. In contraction, so we'll get only high level features. Okay, and then in expansion, by adding with low level and high level, we'll get the output. Okay, so this is about the basic unit architecture. Okay, and the basic advantage of this skip connection is it will add the low level features. It will add it is known as skip connection, or it is also known as a shortcut connection. Okay, so when we are using downsampling, okay, we will lose so many features. Okay, as we have used here 1, 2, 3, 4 downsamplings. Okay, so much of information is lost. So the main advantage of unit is that low level information is concatenated here. So this is about unit. Okay, now we will see how we can improve units. Okay, now we will see how we can improve units. Units, no doubt, they are very good for image segmentation. That too, in particular, they are developed in 2015 for biomedical image segmentation. Okay, they are developed for biomedical images only. Okay, and the main advantage is that the training data, even for less training data, they perform very well. Even for less training data, they perform very well. So just we have, and like this unit, we have another network which is known as SignNet. This is SignNet. Okay, so just as how we are using contraction and expansion in U, here we have performed a sine wave operation. Okay, here also the blue arrow indicates convolution with ReLU. Okay, no doubt it is convolution with ReLU. Blue arrow, and then this green arrow indicates upsampling or transposed convolution. That means we are increasing the size of feature map. These two, no doubt they are convolution operations, and this indicates downsampling operation. Here normally in downsampling we will use max pooling, no doubt max pooling with step 2. Okay, and here also convolution, downsampling, and then upsampling. So normally the number of downsamplings must be equals to number of upsamplings or transposed convolutions to get a perfect segmented image. And generally you can observe that 2 convolution layers are used. Okay, 2 convolution layers are used at each stage. Okay, now you can use more than 2 also. We can have 3 or 4. Okay, but as we increase the number of convolution layers, okay, the training time will increase and it requires more computational power. And the last one, okay, this last this blue arrow, okay, that blue arrow is also, it is a 1-by-1 convolution. It is just a 1-by-1 convolution. Okay, this is how we can have a SignNet like unit. You can design your own net, okay, your own shape, but the important thing is that number of downsamplings must be equals to number of upsamplings. Okay, such that you can get a perfect output. And these black, okay, black one, these black arrows, okay, they are used, they are just like our skip connections in UNet. Okay, they are used to concatenate low level information, okay, after downsampling or upsampling. Okay, they are used to concatenate low level information. So here you can observe we have 3 black arrows, 4 black arrows. Okay, those are known as skip connections or shortcut connections. Okay, this is about SignNet and expand next to UNet. We can extend, and I have used, I have changed this unit into multi-residual unit, multi-res unit. This is a multi-residual unit. Okay, I have developed this one. I have extended unit to have a multi-resolution capability. So why we require multi-resolution capability means, if you take any biomedical image, or if you take just here, let us take this retina image. If you observe this retina image, these are the blood vessels. So here you can observe that the width of blood vessel is continuously changing. In order to segment these different widths, or in order to segment different different features, we require multi-resolution capability. Okay, and we all know that normally if you take a 3/2 continuous 3/3 operations, convolution operations, okay, it results to a 5/5 convolution operation. Okay, to continuous 3/3 convolution operations results to 5/5 convolution operations. Okay, and 3/3 convolution operations. So if you have 3 convolutions, then you will have a 7/7 convolution operation. Okay, up to this point you will have 3/3. Up to this point you can have 5/5, and here you can have 7/7 convolution operation. Do you understand any problem here? Okay, I have extended this unit structure like this. Okay, in unit structure we are using only 2 3/3 convolution layers, only 2/2 convolution layers. Okay, sorry, only 2 3/3 convolution layers. So I have replaced it with 3 3/3 convolution layers, and then I have concatenated them, the results of, or the feature maps of those 3/3 convolution operations. And then, okay, look at this. So here, what is the feature map that we'll get? The output of 3/3 we'll get here. Okay, and here we'll have the output of 5/5, because 2 3/3s in cascade will give 5/5. Okay, 3 3/3s in cascade will give 7/7. So here I will get a 7/7 feature maps. So here I have 3 types of feature maps with 3/3 convolutions, 5/5 convolutions, and 7/7 convolutions. That means I will have different resolutions for my input. That is why multi. Okay, multi. This multi means multi-resolution net. Okay, so as I have used 3 different resolutions, 3/3 resolution, 5/5 resolution, and 7/7. So we can perfectly segment, extract the features from any biomedical image. So for segmenting any biomedical image, we require, the important thing is that we require multi-resolution capability. So in order to introduce multi-resolution capability, I am introducing a REST block like this, multi-REST block. Okay, and look at this. The output of all these feature maps are added to 1/1 convolution output of input. Okay, 1/1 convolution layer. Okay, this is known as another skip connection, which will introduce low-level features. Normally, you can find skip connections like this in residual net. Okay, ResNet of Microsoft. Okay, so this is multi-res unit. Okay, so I have submitted for IEEE okay, IEEE transactions on medical imaging using this multi-res unit, okay, for segmentation of blood vessels from fundus images, okay. Now this is how we can have we can improve units, okay. Now using skip connections also we can improve the network using skip connection or shortcut connections. So where we'll have skip connections, these are the skip connections, okay. We can improve unit by improving the skip connections also. Here I have developed another skip connection like this, okay. Normally this is known as residual skip connection or RES path. So we have encoding path, that means contracting path, and decoding path, that means expansion path in unit, okay. We'll have paths like this, okay. This is encoding and this is expanding path, okay. Now, so normally what is the use of skip connection? Skip connections will append, will concatenate low level information, okay. Now, so in order to append the encoding features in a better manner, okay, I have used residual connections like this. So I have used convolution layers, 3x3 convolution layers, along with 1x1 residual connections, so that even in that low level information also we can have very high level information. The learning will become, if you use this residual connection 1x1, the learning will become very easy, okay. And I have used 3x3 convolution, means not only I am using a 3x3 convolution, along with 3x3 convolution I have used a ReLU also, okay. Now another improvement in residual connections is that this is normal unit, okay. So 64 filters are increased to 128, 128 increased to 256, 256 increased to 512, 512 increased to 1024. This is ordinary unit. So we have a technique known as unit plus plus, okay. Here if you observe, normally we can also have dense units like this, dense units. In dense units, not only the skip connection is connected to this, we'll connect the skip connections like this for all the expansion, for all the nodes in expansion path. The output of second stage is connected to this one, this one, this one, like this. This is dense unit. So if you connect skip connections like this, then that will become a dense unit, okay. So this is a dense unit. Along with dense unit, okay, look at the skip connections. They have introduced units like this. This is one unit, this is another unit, this is another unit, this is the complete unit, okay. So they have different units and they have used dense connections to develop this unit plus plus. This is another very good improvement in unit, okay. And this is unit 3 plus. This is another improvement in unit, okay. So all these connections are dense unit connections, okay. Up to this we know this is just nothing but dense unit. Okay, so along with dense unit, okay, the outputs of the expansion unit, they are also concatenated. We have skip connections like this. Okay, so that at the final output we will have the complete perfectly what the information that we want to segment will be present at the output. Okay, this is about unit 3 plus different unit improvements in unit. Okay, now, so I have applied this multi-res unit for blood vessel segmentation. For blood vessel segmentation, normally, 1 minute, we have three different databases. Okay, STAIR database, DRIVE database, and CHASE database. Look at the information available. We have very low amount of data. For any biomedical image, either for analysis, either for classification or extraction or for registration, the information that we'll get is very less when compared with other real world problems. So units, they work very good even though training data is less. So here in STAIR database we have 20 retina images, okay, with a resolution of 700 by 605. DRIVE database with a resolution of 565 by 584. CHASE database 999 by 960. So now you will get it down. So how many images are used for training and how many are used for validation and testing? So generally half the images are used for training and half will be used for validation, both validation and testing. Okay, here I have used 10 retina images for training and 10 for validation and testing. 20 images for training, 20 for validation and testing. Okay, and here in CHASE database I have used in a different manner. I have used only 12 retinal images for training and 16 retinal images for validation and testing. Okay, so these are the retinal images for different CHASE, STAIR and DRIVE database, and these are the gold standard ground truths provided by the databases. Okay, so here I have considered a retinal image with exudates. These are known as hard exudates. Okay, this is another problem. So another research problem to segment hard exudates and cotton wool spots from retinal image. That is a very good problem, research problem. Okay, here we'll concentrate on segmentation of blood vessels. So this is an image from STAIR database. Okay, it is an image from STAIR database, and just this is the mask of the STAIR database, and this is gray level image of the STAIR database, and this is the gold standard of this STAIR database, hand drawn gold standard. Normally we'll have ground truths provided by all the databases. They will provide two types of two databases. Okay, two ground truths. Okay, ground truth given by one ophthalmologist and ground truth given by second ophthalmologist. Okay, so now to increase the training data, okay, so normally we have only 20 images for STAIR. Okay, so if you observe, we have only 20 retinal images. Out of these 20, half images are used for training. Okay, so with the 10 retinal images, how I can train a unit? So I have to increase the training data. In order to increase the training data, I have used different pre-processing techniques. Okay, so this is a gray level image. Okay, this is the first type of input, and I have filtered this gray level image using Gabor filter. Okay, you can also use a matched filter. Okay, they will enhances the edges. Okay, this is the second type of input, okay, that I have used, and this is a shade corrected image. This is third one, and this is adaptive histogram equalized image. So 4 images. Okay, so 4 images means a total 10 training images. 10 into 4, how many training images I will get? 40 training images I will get. So from these 40 training images, okay, so for these 40 training images are not enough for training. So what I want to do? So in order to increase the training data, okay, we will rotate these images. Do you understand? So we will flip these images. So I have rotated each images in 4 directions. So 4 into 4, 16. 16 into 10, 160. Okay. Vertical flipping, horizontal flipping. 8 images. 8 into 10, another 18. So this is by using rotating, I am getting 160 images, and by flipping, I am getting another 80 images, and total by pre-processing, I am getting 40 images, basic 40. So total, how many images that I got? 280 images. So I have improved the training data from 10 images to 280. Okay, and another thing is that even though it is 700 by 605 image, we cannot directly apply 700 by 605 image to the unit or multi-res unit. Okay, we will apply a size of 64 by 64. So we'll have patches of size 64 by 64. So we will have very high amount of training data if you take patches. Okay, this is how we can improve the training data. Okay, if you apply all this training data and train the network, and then after you validate it and testing it, this is the output that I am getting. Okay, so for drive database, this is ground truth. So we all know that they will give 2 ground truths. This is gold standard ground truth. This is ground truth given by second ophthalmologist, and this is basic unit output, and this is multi-res unit output. Here I am not giving any numbers, just I am showing the outputs. This is of STAIR database, and this is of Chase database. And normally for any biomedical image segmentation, so we require these performance metrics: accuracy, sensitivity, specificity, precision, recall, F1 score, and area under ROC. ROC means receiver operator characteristic. This characteristic is very, very important for biomedical images, biomedical image processing. Okay, if area under ROC is nearer to 1, then that algorithm is perfect. Okay, and here TP indicates true positives, TN indicates true negatives, FP false negatives, FN false negatives. And this is about okay, this is about blood vessel segmentation. Okay, so here I have used multi-res unit to segment the blood vessels. Okay, we have so many problems with respect to retina. Okay, I am working only in biomedical imaging. I am working on retina, fundus images. I am working on lung images. That means nodule detection. Okay, cancer detection, blood vessel detection in lungs. I am also working on brain. Okay, I am working on carotid artery. So I am completely limited to biomedical image processing. Now we'll discuss about another problem in with respect to retinal image processing, because here we are discussing about retinal image. Okay, we'll discuss about another research problem in retinal images, which is glaucoma detection. Okay, Emma, is this visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, before proceeding, in the messages, there are few questions about UNET.
Okay, 1 minute. I will see. So, Sir Viswajit sir, please suggest data set of fundus images. Is it required to prepare own data set database for research work? So we have so many databases with respect to fundus images. Okay, for blood vessel segmentation problem, just I have shown a database, a data set. We can use STAIR data set. We can use DRIVE data set. We can also use Chase data set. Okay, and for other problems like okay, we have two types of pathologies in fundus images. Okay, dark pathologies and bright pathologies. For dark pathologies and bright pathologies, like for dark pathologies means microaneurysms and hemorrhages, we can use Diared DB1 and Diared DB0. Okay, we can also use these two databases for for detection of hard exudates and detection of cloud wool spots. Okay. Second question is how we can do upsampling. We can do upsampling using transposed convolution. And what is the limitation of UNET? UNET, they are very good. They are very good for image segmentation. But the basic, we can have the basic limitation is that during the skip connection, if you observe, the first skip connection is connected to last stage of expansion path. That means the low level features of first stage is applied to the last stage of expansion path. So that is the major limitation of UNET. We can use R square here. What is the difference between area under curve and accuracy? Area under ROC. So area under ROC, it will be drawn between false positives and true positives. Okay. So if the area under ROC is nearer to 1, then the detection is perfect. And for any biomedical image analysis, ROC is very, very important. Okay, and accuracy is also important, but when compared with accuracy, ROC is preferred. Sir, what should be the volume of data set for training? More the training volume, you will get better results. Sir, is blood vessel segmentation is mandatory for extracting retinal lesions. Yes, if you have extracted blood vessels, based on blood vessels, we can perfectly decide where the lesion is. So normally based on blood vessels, we can divide the retinal image into 4 parts. Okay, ISNT, temporal, normal, okay, 4 parts. Based on that part, okay, based on blood vessel segmentation, we can detect optic disc. Based on optic disc, we can perfectly locate the macula. Based on if any lesion is present on macula, okay, if any lesion is present on macula, then no doubt that particular person is blind, or no doubt within 6 to 10 months he may get blindness. How to design filters, or they are available? Okay, we can convolve filters, 3x3 filters, we can have different filters. Okay, now so we can use these here. We'll go to glaucoma detection problem. Sir, Poonam Chandra sir.
Yes, sir.
So, up to what time I can say?
More 10 minutes, sir.
Okay, only 10 minutes. Okay, sir. Okay, this fundus image, it just means it is a retinal image. Fundus means back portion of our eye, which is just nothing but a retina. So, fundus images are very useful for glaucoma detection. Okay, we can use for glaucoma detection 3D. Okay, ophthalmoscopes are there, 3D ophthalmoscopes. But 3D ophthalmoscopes, they are very costly. Okay, almost it will be around 30 to 40 lakhs. Okay, there we will get 3D images of retina such that we can perfectly detect glaucoma. But we have developed a tool using 2D images of a retina. Okay, so normally in order to analyze glaucoma, we have 3 factors. One is cup to disc ratio. That means we have optic cup, optic disc in retina. We need to find the cup to disc ratio. This cup to disc ratio is normally used in Europe. Okay, this is ISNT rule. Okay, this ISNT rule is normally used in Asia, and DDLS, this is used in America. Okay, disc damage likelihood scale. So we have developed a tool in such a way that we have used these 3 metrics to decide whether the patient is having glaucoma or not. Okay, so normally this is a retina image. So in order to detect glaucoma, we require a optic disc centered images. Okay, so first the basic algorithm is like this. Okay, you also can detect using this algorithm. So for each step you can use different methodologies. First we have to segment the blood vessels. Okay, and then we have to eliminate these blood vessels. Okay, for that reason we need to detect the blood vessels. We have to remove the blood vessels from the image in order to perfectly detect glaucoma. So in order to remove the blood vessels, we have developed an inpainting technique. So this is inpainted blood vessels from the retina. Based on blood vessels, we have to detect this optic disc and optic cup also. Okay, so So if you take this image, okay, so this is optic disc, and this is the brightest region is optic cup. Okay, so we need to detect the locations and perfect boundaries of these two. Okay, in order to detect the perfect boundaries of optic disc and optic cup, we have to eliminate or remove the blood vessels. Normally that process is known as impainting. So for that we need to detect the blood vessels. Okay, so for this also we can use, for detection of cup and detection of optic disc, we can use unit. Okay, so for that process we have developed like this. So this is the basic retinal image. Okay, in order to detect the blood vessels, we have pre-processed this image to get a shade corrected image like this. And based on this shade corrected image, okay, as the glaucoma is, the region of interest for glaucoma is the brightest region, optic disc region. So based on based on blood vessel segmentation, okay, and location of this optic disc, we need to find the location of this optic disc also. So here we need to apply a square. We need to apply a square like this, so that this is the region of interest. This is the region of interest anamata. So for this region of interest, these are the detected blood vessels. So we have to, in order to perfectly detect the boundaries, in order to perfectly detect the boundaries of optic disc and optic cup, we have to remove the blood vessels. So we have used an impainting technique. We have developed an impainting technique. So if you look at this image, all the blood vessels are perfectly removed. Okay, if you reverse, complement this image, here you can perfectly observe the optic disc. This is the optic disc, and the darker region, this is optic cup. We need to find the cup to disc ratio. Okay, diameter of cup to diameter of optic disc. So these are the detected. Okay, this is how we have detected optic cups and optic disc. Okay, so for this disc, this is optic disc. The vertical diameter is 152 pixels. All these are pixels, and horizontal diameter is 133. Okay, and cup diameter, this is optic cup. Blue boundary indicates optic cup. This is optic cup vertical diameter, and this is horizontal diameter. So horizontal cup to disc ratio is 0.74436. Okay, and vertical cup to disc ratio is 0.66447. So if you look at this, normally cup to disc ratio, it must be very low. Okay, 1 minute. Cup to disc ratio, it must be very less. So here we have also used areas. Okay, cup disc area is this much number of pixels. This is cup area. Cup to disc ratio is around 0.50. And here we have divided, okay, the total region into 4 parts. So here you can observe green lines. This is one line, this is one line, this is one line, and this is one line. Okay, so here based on these lines, we'll find inferior distance, superior distance, nasal distance, and temporal distance. Okay, based on IS, we have a rule known as ISNT rule. Based on ISNT rule, we can detect a glaucoma. Here, this is rim. So rim to disc diameter is this much. So based on this rim to disc diameter, okay, they will give a scale based on this rim to disc diameter. According to that scale, so they have glaucoma stage 4. Okay, we have new glaucoma stage, DDLS stage, old stage. Okay, so we have 3 types of metrics: CDR, DDLS, and ISNT rule. So based on these 3 techniques, okay, we can perfectly assess the glaucoma of a patient. Okay, for each image, okay, we have performed this research with Vedanta Hospitals of Gurgaon. Okay, and we have collaborated to develop this software, okay, with Optomed Finland. Okay, this is about the fundus image analysis for glaucoma detection. Okay, so any doubts?
Yeah,
We can have so many problems like this. Okay, we can have diabetic retinopathy for using retinal images. Okay, detection of diabetic retinopathy. Okay, for neovascular, okay, NVD, neovascular device for neonat. Okay, for month children, okay, we can detect NVD. We can also find AMD, age related macular disease. We can have so many research problems based on fundus images. Okay, so any doubts here? So how do where we can get retinal fundus images? We can find so many publicly available data sets, sir. Okay, sir, any questions?
participants, if you have any questions to ask, you may now ask to the sir.
So for any, if you have any queries regarding this medical image processing, okay, whether it may be retinal images or CT scans, or whether they're related to lungs, brain, carotid artery, or breast images, okay, for any medical image, you can contact me. Okay, no problem. Okay.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Sir, actually, I want to ask you. You have done work on retinal images. I have to ask, can we apply unit on the 3D MRI scans for
Yes.
image segmentation?
So with respect to, we can also apply, ma'am, no problem. For RGB images, we have perfectly applied. Okay. Okay. If you have 3 channels, no problem. Okay. And even if it is 3D, okay, when we are writing the convolution layer, just we change the 1 to 3. Then no doubt it is applicable to 3D images. No problem.
Sir, actually, I am working on MRI images. It's in gray level, but these images are 3D because in a single MRI image, we have a slices.
No problem, ma'am. You can apply. No problem.
Okay, sir.
So just check the question in the message section.
Ma'am.
Sir, there is one question in the message box.
What is that question, sir?
how to identify the research gap in image segmentation, sir.
How to identify? Okay, there are so many. So, in order to identify the gap, we have ground truth images and segmented images. So we have to compare the ground truth images with our segmented images, such that we can find the sensitivity, specificity, precision, F1 score, accuracy, or receiver operator characteristic area under ROC.
So the one which is performing the best or the one which is performing the least, we have to work on that.
Yeah. Madam, you can start with unit and then slowly you can improve the unit. Okay. Unit codes are available in GitHub. No problem at all. Okay.
Okay, then if you don't have any questions, then we can stop here for this session. I once again thank Professor Giribabu Kande for accepting our invitation from our university and sharing us in detail about the unit and its usage for image segmentation, and in particular for retinal image segmentation. I hope participants have learned about the units and segmentation process. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Andy. Thank you. Thank you all. Sir, can I leave?
Yes, sir. And participants, we have the third session scheduled at 2:30, and the resource person is from MathWorks India, and he will be presenting you the sessions using MATLAB, practical sessions using MATLAB. You no need to download or install any software on your system. Resource person will take care of everything about the presentation of theory as well as the lab exercises. Still, if you have any questions, you may ask me. Okay, then we will meet at 2:30.